The Winnipeg Jets lose Game 6 of their 2021 NHL season to the Edmonton Oilers 4-2-3 in a devastating loss with 0.7 seconds left. And it was an interesting game, to say the least, and let's talk about it right now in this recap. And starting with the first period, I actually thought that this was a pretty interesting lineup going into it with a few little changes. Vesalainen comes out, David Gustafsson goes in. I thought that was an interesting move. I think David Gustafsson had a pretty solid game. He wasn't invisible on the ice, which is something that's kind of important. You know, he was in there getting in the rushes. I noticed him a lot on the boards. He made a couple of good passes in the neutral zone, bringing the puck into the offensive zone. The bottom six tonight, like I've been saying all season, is just putting in a lot of work, and they looked really, really polished tonight offensively, and I really liked what I saw from them. And talking about the bottom six, we got to talk about the workhorse right now for the Winnipeg Jets, Adam Lowry. He is having a fantastic start to the season, which is something that I kind of expected with the Winnipeg Jets bringing his dad in as a coach. But it was nonetheless something very happy to see happen with Lowry, because last year he didn't have that great of an offensive year, even though he had a pretty solid defensive year, killed penalties, which is great down the middle like he always is. But it's great to see him getting on the board early in the season. Nonetheless, really happy to see him contributing a lot on the scoreboard, and he's just playing great hockey in the middle of the ice like usual, and I'm just really happy that Lowry is having such a good start to the season nonetheless. And this is another good positive to talk about, considering how we started the season compared to where we are right now. The Winnipeg Jets have scored their last three games, which is something important, because when you go back to the start of the season, we hadn't led a game until game 4, which is really, really shitty when you think about that. Not having a decent record, but just pulling out those wins without having the lead. You want to have leads, you want to score first in the NHL, and that's important that the Jets are finally getting on that and really scoring first again. When they were successful and went to the conference final, the Jets were one of the most deadliest teams in the league when they scored first, and I want to see them bring that element of hockey back to that top six in the offense, especially on the power play, which again looked a lot more polished and just better than it has been in the season. It's getting better every game, and this is what I've expected from the Jets moving into this season, and actually so far from game to game, watching them so far this season, everything is getting a little bit more polished every game, and that's what I think is going to be important, because with the addition of Pierre-Luc Dubois coming down the middle, I think the game's going to become even more polished, especially with their two-way play, and I'm really excited to see how that looks. I still am, don't want to talk about Line anymore, but I'm very, 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 very excited to see what Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to bring, even if I'm still hurting down in the heart nonetheless. But yeah, again, just great team play. I felt like they ran the ice really well. They had the puck moving pretty well. They had a lot of speed, which is important. And the Jets just looked like the Jets playing their best hockey, which is something that we've seen the past few games, and was something that I was actually really excited and relieved to see, because obviously Ottawa is a lower tier team. Even though they have a lot of talent, they are a lower tier team compared to what the talent level is on the Edmonton Oilers. And in my opinion, the Jets didn't do that great of a job on limiting their star power on Edmonton. Definitely Leon Draisaitl and McDavid had a little bit too much room on the ice, in my opinion. At some points, but they nonetheless were able to shut them down, minus obviously the Draisaitl game winner, which is definitely a stinger, but nonetheless, it's what happens in hockey, and that's what this game was so great about. Although the Jets lost this game, I don't really feel like there was any bad area of the ice completely that they just struggled in. They were just playing solid hockey nonetheless, in my opinion, and because of that, the Jets ended up, playing great hockey throughout the whole game. Yeah, they had that issues with the lead, but nonetheless, the teams were playing both really good levels of hockey, and the offense was flying on both sides. So yeah, goals are going to get scored, and obviously Laurent Brossoit, in my opinion, he still had a decent game. Most of those goals, other than that one where he just couldn't get the rebound, I believe, on the second goal, he couldn't cover that up. If he's able to cover that up, it's a better game. We win it. Not to mention the fact that we have that blown call. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think that goal should have stand by Copp in the first period. I don't like that at all. I think that it was a tough call for the league to go on, but I think that it should have stood based off of the fact that it was called a goal on the ice. But yeah, nonetheless, I was a little bit disappointed with that call, because with that goal we win the game, and I think that changes the outlook of the game. But nonetheless, just the way the hockey goes, sometimes it doesn't fall in your favor. And this game, again, talking about officiating, so many holes from the first to the third with the officiating, in my opinion. A lot of blown calls, a lot of missed calls, a lot of funky calls for both teams that I just didn't really agree with, and just not good officiating today. And this has been, in my opinion, one of the worst probably officiated games the Jets have had this season going on their favor. And I didn't feel like it was very fair and rewarding to them how they played, and a little bit disappointing nonetheless to see that. But yeah, throughout the second and third period, almost everything stayed the same with the team, in my opinion. Perreault was being a bit of a dummy, in my opinion, this game, talking about kind of what a consistent, bad player was in this game. Again, with Matthew Perreault we're talking about in these reviews, is the fact that he was just being so picky with all of his offensive opportunities. I don't know how many times this guy had a really good opportunity to actually score a goal. He was in perfect opportunity, great pass, great opportunity, and every time he had a chance to shoot the puck openly, he passed it, and he fumbled that pass, and then it would just not turn into anything. And that was a real waste of opportunities, in my opinion. And if we need to have Matthew Perreault playing in this increased role that he is, which I don't think he should be at this point in his career, I think that if that's going to happen, Paul Maurice and the coaching staff has to get on him about shooting the puck more. He has had 4 goals in the past. He's not a bad NHL goal scorer in his career. He just needs to get on that, shoot more, and stop looking for these fancy plays and making these nice passes. He needs to start worrying about putting the puck in the back of the net and getting goals for the team instead of trying to set up his teammates, in my opinion. Nonetheless, that's just my little rant again on Matthew Perreault. I don't think he should be in the lineup based off of what we've seen from Gustafsson, off Vesalainen, the way the bottom six playing with a lot of youth. I think that having Vesalainen instead of Perreault is going to be much better. Vesalainen did show a lot of improvement in Liga, like I've been saying, and he looked good in the game he had against Ottawa in the last game of that series. And in my opinion, I think that although Gustafsson looked good, I think having Vesalainen come back in could be the better play moving forward down the season. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the lineup nonetheless. But yeah, Connor, definitely, that was a big scare getting into the second period. Kyle Connor takes a shot off the upper area, getting in this area. I can't exactly remember now where, but it kind of rolled off his stick in his shot from Nurse, and it went up in this area, and it did not look good. He was in a lot of pain leaving the ice in the second period, but nonetheless, he was there to start the period on the third, so a huge relief there. If we lose Kyle Connor with how great he's been playing, and also not having Laine and still waiting for Dubois to get here and hop into the lineup, the top six just takes more holes. But thank God we have someone playing great hockey within this top six opportunity, getting an opportunity within that top six again, and that's Andrew Kopp. And I'm going to be making a video talking about Andrew Kopp very soon because he's turning into a very interesting asset that the Winnipeg Jets have in their hands. Seattle's expansion draft's coming. We already have Lowry, Kopp, a bunch of other young guys pushing for those roles. Contract situations are going to happen with those guys, especially with Lowry and Kopp. The team's going to have to look at whether or not they're going to want to give them that pay increase in that term for that bottom six role, or let young guys come in, or they're going to have to maybe pick one or the other. And I want to talk about that a little bit extendedly because both of these guys, Andrew Kopp and Adam Lowry, respectively, have looked pretty amazing to start the season in their limited roles on the team, and Andrew Kopp getting an obviously increased role now, making the most of his opportunity. So definitely going to have to keep watching that situation and see how it develops, and whether or not, Andrew Kopp's going to be looking for a little bit more playing time and pay increase going into his contract negotiations this season, or whenever his negotiations will come up. Nonetheless, though, just want to talk. That's still good, though. Talking about how we have that situation happening with those guys. I still think it's great that we have them under contract, and we have to use that opportunity when we have. And that's what I think is going to be really interesting this year with the Jets. I really think they're going to be having a good opportunity to go for it. I think that when everything meshes together with Dubois gets here and our final roster is set, we're going to have a good team moving forward. And the last kind of big negative I want to talk about, which is unfortunate negative to talk about because he looked great in his first game of the season last year, in his last game, and that was Dylan DeMello this game. He's the reason we lost this game in the third period, in my opinion. A really very bad call on that game, on the tying goal, and just not good at all in his position, no coverage on that guy. And then not to mention the fact that he took that penalty at the end and the power play, although it expired and the Jets killed it literally seconds later after that, they win the game at the buzzer beater. And unfortunately, it just does not look good for DeMello in that place with those final minutes of that third period. But yeah, another talking about a little bit kind of a negative in my opinion is that I predicted Stanley would have his first point this season. I thought that he would look a little bit more offensively inbound, and while he was having some good offensive looks, he definitely looks slow. A lot in his defense, I think a lot of players, especially a guy of his size, is going to look slow next to having to guard McDavid. I don't think that was a good matchup by coaching staff to allow him to be on McDavid, but there were other instances where I saw he was a little slow getting onto the forward in his coverage, so hopefully that changes, and maybe it's just him still getting used to this go fast season that the NHL has with all these back-to-back games, especially coming out the fact that the Jets played so late last night and then having another back-to-back today. It makes a lot of sense. And that's also something I want to talk about also as well before we end off this video, is just the complete play. When you look at where the Jets were 24 hours ago and how much effort and how well they were playing in that game, and how much they come into this game with that same amount of effort against a better opponent, playing tough hockey, and they lose in the final dying second of the game, that says a lot about how much compete level this team has. And I think that's going to be a very, very good thing moving forward with this club because of how their compete level was so high. They really went for it this game. They fought as much as they could, and unfortunately it just didn't come out to the Jets' favor. Doesn't mean it was a bad game by the Jets. I thought there was a lot of good and a lot of positive in here. Blake Wheeler looked good. Scheifele looked good. The defense looked more stable. Morrissey was making, in my opinion, a lot more responsible plays. DeMello was moving the puck well. Derek Forbett is still looking like a great addition. Trevor Lewis had some good break-in plays. Andrew Kopp and Lowry were Andrew Kopp and Lowry. They played great, and I just think that there was a lot of good overall play from everyone. Jansen Harkins, again, a huge guy that I think is going to be big with this club moving forward. Just looked great in this game as an all-around player. Fast, quick, hard-hitting, and I love the way he controlled the puck in the offensive zone at times. Nonetheless, though, in my opinion, although the Jets lose this game, I feel like it was a win for the fact that they still didn't fail. They didn't play down at any opponent level. They played the best hockey they could, and they just lost in the last seconds in a great match with a lot of bad penalties. So nonetheless, happy the Jets won this game. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you think of this game? What were the positives? What were the negatives? Let me know all your thoughts down as usual in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're a fan of hockey, regardless of the team you root for, definitely consider dropping a subscription as we are on that road to 1K subscribers, guys. Thank you so much for all the support recently. You know, this is a new channel, a new age for the Winnipeg Jets, and I can't wait to keep covering all these news with you guys as the season unfolds. So thank you for giving me the platform and the opportunity to do so with you guys clicking these videos so much. And also, huge thank you to the amount of support that Line A video got. You know, that was a raw video for me to make, and I'm really glad to see a lot of you guys agreeing with me, and, you know, everyone being respectful a lot in the comments, and a lot of just people talking about how they felt and how raw it was. I really appreciate all that support, guys, and keeping the comments that way. So thank you guys so much for all the support. Peace, love, and positivity as always, and I will see you in the next video. Go Jets, go.